Hi everyone, this is Shauna Smith. Welcome to the March 1st Creative Writing and Filmmaking Workshop. I have to apologize in advance. I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm so sorry that you have to listen to my terrible voice for the next few minutes, but I'm excited about the information that I'm going to talk to you guys about, and just really excited about this whole documentary film and action research process. So today's workshop we're going to focus on reflecting, and we'll be specifically dealing with evaluating, implementing, and revisiting our action research. So if you'll recall, the Creative Writing Challenge for this year is that the students are going to develop an action research documentary, and it's going to be dealing with shortages of clean water and energy. So elementary schools are focusing on increased access to clean water and or energy. Middle schools are focused on conservation of clean water and or energy. And then high schools are focused on the efficient uses of clean water and or energy. So this is where we're at in terms of my suggested pacing guide. So we're in the final stages of this. It's almost time to see everybody at the National Challenge in Houston in April. So we have this workshop and one more workshop before we have our final presentations. I'm so excited. So we are in the final stage of action research at this point. So we are dealing with reflection. So we're going to be looking back and evaluating the research that we've done up to this point. We're going to be discussing some implementation strategies and revisiting the sites that we're doing our research at. So let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, you should have already by this point, you should have written your action research report. So this is the suggested format that I had given to you guys at the last workshop. So in this stage of action research, we're going to be evaluating the evidence from your action research report. So really looking at it with a critical eye, trying to pull out what are the key things that you think are not only important, but the key things that your peers and other members of your community will also think are important. So for the purposes of our documentary film, we're not merely going to just make a film that has everything that we included in our action research report. We're really going to take a documenter''s keen eye and pull out what we think is going to be the most important and the most engaging to create a call to action. So to do that, we're going to engage some persuasive writing techniques. And so you're essentially going to convert your action research report into an engaging and persuasive documentary script. So you need to have your introduction that's going to have a hook and really engage the reader or the person who's watching your film. You need to establish the context so that anybody, somebody who isn't from your area, somebody who isn't even from this country, if they can understand the context of where you're doing your action research, then they can understand the argument or claim that you're making, this call to action or thesis statement. So then in the body of your documentary, you're going to provide factual reasons with concrete details, insightful commentary from the people you interviewed or from your teammates to serve as examples, and then also create a strong counter argument, because even though we're making a documentary that's heavily influenced by our personal beliefs and experiences, we need to establish this sense of trust by providing multiple sides of the argument so that we're not completely biased. And then you're going to wrap that up with a conclusion where you're going to restate the thesis or your big so what, and leave the reader or watcher feeling with this sense of feeling that they're challenged or they're persuaded. And we really kind of call that our call to action. So I have a template that I got from readwritethink.org, which has great writing exercises and supports. But if we can think about our action research report and kind of break it down into these key components, then we can first look at the thesis, which is our call to action. This is our, at the beginning of our documentary, this is the purpose of my documentary. And we'll also kind of bookend the end of the documentary with that same call to action. We're going to have more than one claim, and these reasons or claims are going to appeal to the audience. And we're going to back up each of those claims and reasons with facts and examples. And that's where the data from your action research report will really come into play. It's going to support these reasons, and it's going to persuade the audience. And some basic strategies for persuasive writing, these come all the way back from the days of Aristotle. You can appeal to the logos of a person by using logic, by using statistical information, numerical information, percentages, bar charts, pie graphs. When people see logical numbers, that can establish a sense of, the numbers don't lie. You can also appeal to pathos by evoking an emotional reaction. SPCA commercials are a prime example of that. You see the saddest, cutest little puppies, and you can't help but feel like you want to just take them all home and help every one of them. So figuring out ways that you can capture footage of your site that can appeal to the emotion, or interviews from your participants that can appeal to the emotion of the watcher of your documentary can really help persuade. Also, you can appeal to the ethos, which is when you are establishing your credibility. You are reaching out your hand and saying, trust me, I have been there, I have seen it, I know what you're going through, or I know that this is an issue in your community as well, so I'm credible and you can trust me. And then the prime persuasive technique is trying to speak to kairos, which is where you're establishing the fact that, time is limited. Act now. Hurry. If we want to help this situation, if we want to save this situation, we need to do something right now. So whether you're using the script, your words to persuade, towards any of these strategies, or if you're using visuals to persuade, knowing how you're appealing to your audience is going to be key to your documentary's success. So then revisiting the site, you might need to gather additional footage for your documentary film, whether you're going to ask more questions of your participants or new participants, whether you're going to capture video footage, whether you're going to capture still images with your camera. You probably are going to need to revisit and get some more information. So some keys for getting some good quality film or still images is first you have to stabilize the camera. There are many techniques. You can stabilize your own arm, you can use two hands, you can use a tripod, but in order to get high quality images, you need to ensure that it's as stable as possible. If you want to capture high quality sound, you can get creative with what you have access to. So like the image here shows, if you need to get above the person who is talking, then wrap that microphone around something you have access to and get in closer without being in the actual video camera's screen. Alternatively, you can use standard computer microphones. You can use the built-in microphone on a laptop and hold it close to the person or event you're trying to record. And then it's always a good idea to plug in some headphones so that you can monitor the quality of the sound that you're recording, so that way you know right then and there if it's high quality or if it didn't record for some reason, because nothing is a bigger bummer than getting all the way back to your computer in your classroom and only to discover that what you thought you recorded, you didn't. So next is lighting. If you are filming outside, natural light can really warm up what it is that you're trying to capture through your still image or your video footage. But also sometimes you need a little help, especially when you're filming indoors. So thinking about the three-point lighting, you need to have light in front of the person that you're videoing, and you want to make sure that you're minimizing the shadows. So you don't want to have the person's face in shadow because sometimes that distorts what it is that you're capturing. So you can add a fill light, which can illuminate the other side of their face, minimizing the shadows, and then it can be even more enhanced if you have a backlight. So then, you know, there are almost no shadows. The face is very well lit, and you don't have to have a fancy lighting kit. You can utilize a table lamp, a clamp-on lamp that you can move with a flexible arm, and when in doubt, try to reflect the light. Something as simple as a car windshield reflector can really target the light where you actually want it to be. Then actually composing the shot. Whether you're dealing with still images or video footage, you don't necessarily want to have everything completely centered. That can get a little tedious and a little boring. So thinking about if you break up the screen into thirds, both horizontally and vertically, then you can create some more interesting angles. So when something is slightly off-centered in that first third, it can add a little bit more interest to what it is that you're capturing. Additional things to consider when you're composing the shot is if you want to have a wide angle where you get more of the background scene in there, if you want to have a mid shot where you are capturing somebody from the waist up, or if you want to have a close-up for more emphasis. You can always record the person or event using all three of these strategies, and then once you get to the editing phase, you can choose which one captures it better. Perhaps one is clearer, perhaps one really emphasizes the point that you're trying to get across. Particularly in documentary films, sometimes if you can capture what's going on around the person, that can add to the story. Or if you can zoom in on their facial expression and really zoom in on the emotion that the interviewee is expressing, that can add so much to your story. You can also think about how angles can impact the visuals that you're presenting in your documentary. A normal angle is where you are just straight on, almost making like eye contact with the participant. Alternatively, if you have a bird's eye view with a high angle, then that can add to the emotional capability of what's going on. Or if you have a worm's eye view of a low angle, that can also add. So again, it just depends on what you are trying to convey at that particular point with the visuals and the words that are being spoken. Some other techniques, you know, don't ever feel like you have to just stand there, you know, you never have to just stand there filming at one angle. You can move around. You can zoom in for effect. You can hop on a skateboard and have somebody push you for a dolly effect. That really enhances action and emotional content. You could even get a roller skate and put your camera on it and pull it along a sidewalk. You never know unless you try. So I really encourage you to kind of experiment and have fun with it, because sometimes you're going to be able to capture some really interesting things if you just try some different stuff out. So for your action research plan, we're in the final fourth phase. So reflecting entails evaluating, implementing, and revisiting. So you're evaluating your action research report. You're identifying the key findings that you're going to highlight for your documentary film. Then you're going to actually implement those by translating the action research report into a documentary film script. So you're going to utilize some of the persuasive writing strategies and techniques that I mentioned before, the logos, ethos, pathos, and kairos. And you might want to storyboard. You might want to write down some ideas on sticky notes and put them around the wall in your classroom and start planning the order of different things to really enhance your thesis and to enhance your call to action. And then you're going to revisit the site. So you might need to gather some additional footage to be used in your documentary film, whether you need to gather more still images, more video footage to establish the setting that you conducted your action research in, whether you need to sit down and re-record some quality footage with one of the people you interviewed, or maybe you just need to be in the site one more time to see if you missed anything. So spend the next couple of weeks working on this. We're really getting into that documentary film mode, and the next workshop is going to be on editing and finalizing the documentary film. So if you will spend the next coming weeks planning out the footage, gathering it all, making sure that you save everything twice, 3 times, 4 times, however many times, back it up. And the next time we'll actually go through some different software options, some different techniques where you can edit it and put it into an actual film format. As always, thank you so much for attending. I apologize for my terrible, terrible voice because of my cold, but I am always available to you if you want to send me a message on CSTEM Break, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. Have a great weekend.